Hi, this is Frank with a frank opinion. I wanted this morning to respond to the occupant of the White House's remarks yesterday as reported. And I want to start by saying that I'm always wondered what happened on the Mayflower between England and the United States, where future Americans kind of lost their ability to separate fact and belief, to discern things for what they are, for us that are so clearly apparent. What the occupant of the White House clearly did yesterday was once again, and there have been many times before, where he has given factual relevance to the fact that he is at the core, at his very core, a racist. Okay, let's put that aside, because I'm not going to get involved in why I think so, all the various historic elements that come to that make my coming to that conclusion fact. I am going to take this opportunity, and I haven't had time to memorize what I wrote in 2015 after the horrendous shooting in the AME Methodist Church in Charleston by Dylan Roof, who killed 9 individuals at a Bible study class, all black, including the pastor. And we have had so many of these incidences. And I've long thought that we can't do anything in life without a plan, without a goal. So I wrote this to Congressman John Lewis at the time. I'll come back to that. And I said, this plan is neither complete nor perfect. It can be added to. Though I do think that the first 2 elements of the 9 elements I'm going to read to you are essential. So let me start. A plan to measurably decrease racism in the United States. Eradicating racism must be a national goal, enunciated unequivocally by a future president. Obviously not this one. The plan would need religious leaders of all faiths, representing all denominations and all of our nation's regions, to denounce racism as antithetical to their respective religious creeds, and to vow to provide their personal leadership to this national goal, even at the risk of losing a number of their parishioners. Effectively reducing racism will simply not be possible without this element. Third, there would need to be a major public relations campaign aimed at educating Americans about the existence of this national goal and motivating their acceptance and personal support for it. The campaign would need to have resources surpassing those of previous campaigns, such as the anti-smoking campaign, and sustained at a high level of commitment for the time it takes to achieve major results. Media is everything and everywhere. It has to become the acceptable norm, value, to personally exhibit through word and deed that one is against racism. Fourth, the horrific history of slavery, institutional racism, and race-based discrimination and their social and economic consequences must be taught clearly and courageously, using every venue possible. Particularly important would be making Americans aware of the divergence between the American creed of liberty and equality and racism. Racism kills in many ways. Programs, both voluntary and others, supported by governmental incentives, would be developed that provide opportunities for interracial activity in life. An example might be the development of new communities intentionally promoted as having racial diversity as a goal. A new American pioneer story, perhaps. Corporate America, including major media, would be challenged and then enlisted to become part of the solution by reviewing their hiring, promotional, pay, location, advertising, and other policies, and taking primary responsibility for removing those that are discriminatory. Institutions at all levels, but especially at the local community level, would be encouraged to be an integral and essential part of accomplishing this national goal. Call it a movement if you like, by developing programs that bring racial groups together to work side by side as equals on community-wide projects. Government agencies would vigorously enforce civil rights regulations and prosecute civil rights violations, but just as importantly, be a source of information for notable efforts and achievements in reducing the effects of racism as well as for the promulgation. Variables to measure the effectiveness over time of achieving this critical national goal can be easily developed if there's a will to do it. Think about the Southern Poverty Law Center. Think about the ACLU. Think about a multitude of organizations that track racism and the results of violence due to racism. There's all kinds of ways of measuring this. Reparations, the big one. Slavery made this country to a certain degree, to a great degree, some would argue. I would argue on the latter. And the amount of money that we have spent half-heartedly in communities that are impoverished is a drop in the bucket in terms of what they need. And we have the money. So reparations I look at not as trying to figure out what is owed descendants to slavery, so much as, in a practical way, coming up with lots and lots of Marshall Plan dollars to do something about inner cities and poverty and income and wealth inequality and the lack of health care for all, etc., etc. Right now, racism is a core value of our country unless we do something about it. And I'm telling you, it takes a plan, not just conversation or national dialogue. Thank you.